text message or a message on your phone and it comes out a certain way and you thought that they said this and they never said that? They didn't put the comma where it should be. Has that ever happened to you? It's happened to me a lot. So I've got to think about what I'm going to say. Like if I say, no, I don't know what, they're thinking that I'm saying no to what they were asking me, but I'm saying no way, but I didn't put way, So it gives off for bad communication. Communicating is a whole experience. It takes all of our body to communicate. How many of us women can communicate when we're not happy? Do you have to use words to communicate that you're not happy? Your husband knows when you're not happy. If mama's not happy, nobody's happy, right? Okay, so our facial expressions. You can communicate a lot by your facial expressions. Okay? Sometimes we have to preach and we have to look at the faces and they're like, or sometimes they're just plain, that's bored. Sometimes they're just mad. And you can tell when the lips are pursed. Or when you're happy, you're smiling. If I'm preaching, I see people smiling, like, oh baby, it's okay. I'm communicating correctly what I want to communicate. Because I want to make them happy. Nobody wants to stand up here and look at people frowning at them, right? So our whole face is involved. Body language. Do you know that they have experts on body language? When they're on trial, they have experts on body language. Well, even the gossip magazines, well, her body language was this. What body language? I had an itch, But our eyebrows get raised when we're like, and our eyes get bigger, and stuff like that. So we're always communicating. So we have to be careful the faces that we make. My girls say, we know when Dad is mad because he has droopy cheeks. Well, what does that mean? That he's not smiling and he's upset, So that's one way of communicating. One time we were going to do this women's conference at the church, and I told my daughter Mimi, who are the pastors of the church, I told her, Mimi, I want a display window for the tent that we were going to do for the pastors' wives. I want a display window, and I want this and this and this in it. Well, how many of you know what a display window is? Like you go shopping and you see the windows and they have a display on it, right? Is that hard? A display window. So I made a whole big one. So I thought I had communicated with my daughter what I wanted, But obviously I didn't. So the morning, it's going to start in the afternoon at 6. In that morning, I get to where the sets are and everything, and I see this tiny little window like this. Tiny little window with a little thing on it. And I'm like, Mimi, where is my display window? She's like, you asked for a window. I said, no, I didn't. I asked for a display window. Well, we were getting upset at each other, and the women's conference, the 3-day women's conference was about to start. And she said, Mother, you did not communicate correctly. And I thought I was a good communicator. But that's why so many of us have problems in our marriages. We have problems with our bosses. We have problems with our co-workers. We have problems at church. We have problems everywhere. So we have to learn to communicate properly, okay? And let people know. And then we wouldn't face so many situations if we properly communicate the way we should. That is so important. Sometimes people get to a state of mind in their life, in their emotions, and the only way they can communicate, because sometimes we're not listening, we're not paying attention to all those little signs, and they never say anything, they eat it all up. They can't, there's some people that cannot express it. That's not my problem, but a lot of people, they can't let it out. So by the time they have to express it to us somehow, they have to communicate how they're feeling. So sometimes they do some things to themselves, and some people cut themselves. We have girls in our church that cut themselves. Because that's the only way they can communicate how hurt they are inside. There's people that try to take their lives because they cannot verbally express what's happening in here. So they have to. God communicates with us all the time, and we were formed, we were created to be communicators of the gospel, of the good news. And when people can't do that and they're hurting inside, they communicate one way or another, true or not. So you see how important it is to be able to communicate properly and to look for signs in people that you know are having one type of trouble or another, so that you can read those signs and that you can help those people, help those women to get through the need that they have in their life, and for it not to get to the point where they're cutting themselves. Gracia and my daughter had an experience with one of the cutters. I mean, there was so much blood. There was so much blood that Mimi said that she was going to throw up. She had never smelled blood like that. The girl locked herself in. Gracia and Mimi have been working with her. They went in there. She let you in, right? She let you in, and was it you that hugged her? And it was a disaster. But she was trying to communicate what she felt. So I'm going to hand the mic out to these girls, and we're going to get ideas from them on how to communicate better. Gracia, I'm going to let you do how to communicate with your friends, that maybe you're not happy with the way your friendship has been going.
I think one thing